Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us, coming to you from Washington's premier indoor shooting facility. Of course, that's Security Gun Club right here in Woodinville, Washington. Hey, this is a video for the hometown crowd. It's always nice to be able to do a video exclusive to Washington, and this is huge news, and I do mean huge news and very positive developments in a case that would, of course, is challenging the constitutionality of Washington's magazine ban, which was actually passed during the legislative session of 2022 under a Senate bill called 5078. The case we're going to be talking about today is State of Washington versus Gators Guns. Now, we've geeked out on this case before, and we've indicated that, you know what, the Attorney General may have bitten off a little bit more than he can chew, and that is turning out to be more and more the case. So today, let's geek out for a little while and let's talk about the beginning of the end to Washington's magazine ban. Okay, before we get going too far down the road, we're going down. Proud to announce that this video is being brought to you by Security Gun Club. That's right, Washington's premier indoor shooting facility is located right here in Woodinville, Washington. Listen, what I want to talk to you about, though, today is the big event we got going on Sunday, December 10th, right here at the club from noon to 4. Now, we're going to be celebrating Washington Gun Law crossing over 250,000 subscribers, but most importantly, we're going to be doing a big, huge toy drive for the Forgotten Children's Fund. So if you got time, come on by Sunday, anytime noon to 4. Price to get in is you got to make a donation for the kids here. So once again, everything we raise that day is going to go to the Forgotten Children's Fund. If you can't bring a toy and you want to just bring a cash donation, go ahead and do it. Remember, if you've never shot at the club before, you're going to have to come in early and do a safety briefing. So please, we hope to see all of you here. Let's help raise a bunch of good toys and money for the Forgotten Children's Fund. That's going to be Sunday right here at Security Gun Club, noon to 4. Okay, so like I mentioned, the case we're talking about today is State of Washington versus Gators Guns. It is filed in Cowlitz County, Washington. We have done multiple videos on this case because from the very moment it happened, there was something very different about this case. And what was really, really different about it was, number one, how Gator Guns chose to actually sell their magazines, which was pretty out in the open. And number two, the jurisdiction in which the Attorney General decided to take action in is not as favorable of a jurisdiction as other areas where the Attorney General usually operates. Now, when the Attorney General sued Gators Guns for selling high-capacity magazines, we got Gators Guns connected with the good folks over at the Silent Majority Foundation. And so I had an opportunity to talk to Pete Serrano earlier today, and this is where I'm getting all of this really positive news. Of course, with the Attorney General suing Gators Guns, Gator Guns turned around and sued the state of Washington and said, hey, this law that you're suing me under, it's unconstitutional. Now, as we know, the judge who's handling this case has asked for briefing from both sides on all the issues, including he wanted briefing on the constitutionality of Senate Bill 508, now codified into RCW 9.41.370 and 375. Now, in talking with Mr. Serrano, I find out that the Attorney General's office is being anything but cooperative about anything. Just today, there was a 45-minute status conference to figure out the scheduling of all the briefings and anything. Now, anyone who's even spent just a year or two in court knows that there's no such thing as a 45-minute scheduling conference. In fact, rarely does it even require an in-person scheduling conference because two adults can usually sit down with their calendars, figure out dates, fill out an order, and send it to the court. But not when Bob Ferguson's office is involved. The big issue right now for the court that's in kind of dispute with the state of Washington is that the court does not believe that expert testimony is needed. The court believes that the Heller case really kind of sums up everything that the court needs to analyze, and that the ruling really would be based upon the interpretation of Heller. Now, anyone who knows how to read tea leaves here and understands where the court's coming from knows that that is an incredibly, incredibly positive sign. However, the state of Washington is kicking and screaming and demanding that we have a full-blown hearing in which they're going to put on their experts. And their experts, of course, will be the usual suspects. And if you don't believe me, just take a look at the list of experts that testified in the matter of Duncan v. Bonta. So the court basically has told the state at this point, we're not convinced that we need any kind of witnesses, and it is up to the state to convince the court otherwise. But at the same time, we also have the issue as to whether or not the statute itself is constitutional. And then, of course, there's the whole consumer protection action enforcement that's going on as well. So this turns out to be a really, really loaded equation for this court to handle. Now, this is what the court has done. The court has set parallel briefing schedules. So the court's going to want briefing on one issue, and I'll give you the dates in a moment, and then the court's going to want briefing on the other issue, and a date for oral argument has been set. So, as to whether or not we need a full-blown hearing involving experts on both sides, the scheduling conference order now reads that the state's brief is due on December 15th. That Gators Guns response brief is due on December 22nd, and any further response by the state of Washington is due on December 29th. Now, that again is only on the issue as to whether or not a full trial with expert witnesses is needed. Then, of course, we have the briefing on whether or not this statute is even constitutional to begin with. And the scheduling order on that matter reads that the opening constitutional challenge brief is due on December 18th, that the state's response brief will be due on January 5th, and Gators Guns' response brief will then be due on January 16th. And then, most importantly, oral arguments on all of this is now set for January 22nd at 1 p.m. in the Cowlitz County Superior Courthouse. For those of you who were kind enough to already kick into the Silent Majority Foundation to help with the expert witnesses, please understand that your money was well used, because if the court does in fact decide, no, you know what, we are going to have a full-blown trial, and yeah, I am going to let everyone submit expert testimony, then good news, Silent Majority Foundation has 5 experts ready to go, testimony ready to be filed. Now, I know to many of you, going all the way out to January 22nd may seem that this is moving at a glacial pace, but I can assure you, and you can talk to any other lawyer who understands how the court system works, that to have all of this accomplished, both issues briefed, response briefs, response pleadings, and all of that, and to have oral argument by January 22nd is actually moving at legal light speed. So listen, sometimes we try to look into our crystal ball here, we try to read the tea leaves and figure out what is likely to happen. Any attorney who's spent more than a few years in a courtroom will begin to understand that many times the bench will telegraph to you what they're thinking and where they might be going with issues. And all you really need to do is just shut up and listen. And everything that I've been hearing from this particular court, and everything I've been hearing from Mr. Serrano and everyone else that's involved more heavily in this litigation, is very positive. We did this video many months ago when this case first broke, and I said, hey, listen, I think the Attorney General may have bitten off way more than he can chew here, and the more and more this case proceeds, the more and more I believe that to be the case. The case, once again, is State of Washington versus Gators Guns. We'll link it all up down below so you can geek out on it for yourself. Remember, oral argument is set for January 22nd at 1 p.m. down in Cowlitz County. If you got any other questions about that, or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. If you don't, that's okay. That information is also down there in the description box. Now, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay safe.